Hey, today we're going to talk about 6.7, energy from biomass. Take a moment, check out the enduring understanding, look at the learning objective, pause the video, review the essential knowledge, and set up your Cornell notes. So remember that biomass just refers to anything that is biotic that is composed of cells. And we are using forms of biomass that are carbon rich. And I just want to remind you about modern carbon versus fossil carbon. So modern carbon is carbon that is easily interchangeable between the different reservoirs. And fossil carbon is exactly like it sounds. It's carbon that's been locked away for at least thousands, but definitely probably millions of years. And that is typically going to be found in fossil fuels. But also fossil or ancient carbon is also locked away in limestone as well. However, we don't use that for generating electricity. Now, biomass involves basically using plant material or anything that is originally from a plant or from an animal. So impacts when we when we combust biomass, some of the impacts from this, typically we're going to use it for cooking or for home heating. Now this is just combusting biomass like burning manure, burning wood, burning charcoal, something like that. It is releasing air pollutants, especially we have the particulate matter, which is the soot, and that can cause disruptions to your respiratory system. You can also release carbon monoxide, and carbon monoxide, that can cause hypoxia because carbon monoxide binds to the hemoglobin in our blood, and hemoglobin is a protein that it attaches oxygen and delivers oxygen to our cells. And if you are attaching the carbon monoxide to the hemoglobin, that means it's not available to attach to oxygen. So the carbon monoxide is basically suffocating us by preventing the oxygen from being delivered to our cells. The sulfur oxides, and this could be SO, SO2, SO3, are a contributor to acid precipitation. Nitrogen oxides can contribute to photochemical smog and can also damage leaves on plants. Now, we will be definitely talking about all of these air pollutants in our next unit, which is on air pollution. So biomass combustion is carbon neutral because it is modern carbon. It was recently a part of the biosphere, and it wasn't locked away for millions of years. So the carbon that I'm burning was probably in the atmosphere within the last, number of years, within probably my lifetime. But it is also inexpensive, so that is a benefit to combustion of biomass. It's inexpensive, it's easily accessible. The problem is, in order to obtain this biomass, we have to cut down trees, and we have, a significant portion of habitat destruction, which of course leads to biodiversity loss. Now, biofuels are obtaining a source of energy, typically like a substitute for petroleum. So we're gaining something from crops that we are producing. And the world leaders in biofuel, the United States is number one by far. Brazil is actually number 2, Indonesia number 3, and Germany number 4. Typically in the United States, we're using corn primarily. In Brazil, there's a lot of palm oil. And basically what we want is we want substances that have, where we can access the oil, and the oil that's present in these plants is processed and kind of condensed and synthesized in a way that we can get a lot of energy out of it. So to produce biodiesel from corn, we're using the glucose that's present in the corn, using enzymes, and undergoing a fermentation process where we produce ethanol and carbon dioxide as a byproduct. Now, this fermentation can be done from palm oil, corn, or sugarcane, and this can contribute to the production of a biofuel. Biodiesel is a form of a biofuel. So the impact is we are increasing the amount of corn that we are growing, which is a higher energy investment. We're putting a lot of energy in, and we're not really getting as much energy out. So the return on investment is actually quite low, and it is not the most efficient process currently. All of the impacts of biodiesel production are the same impacts of monocropping because we're obtaining it from corn. So all of the soil degradation impacts, which you can go back and refer to from Unit 5, but anything that is a negative impact for monocropping is the same thing for biodiesel production. Habitat destruction, biodiversity loss, you can fill in the blanks. When we're growing all this corn to produce biodiesel, what's happening is we're lowering the availability for food products for humans or for animals. And also we're eliminating that carbon sequestration. In other words, we're keeping the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere and we're not able to pull as much out of the atmosphere because we are cutting down this corn and preventing it from taking in more carbon dioxide. Now, the whole point of all biodiesel production is to obtain ethanol, to purify it, to make biodiesel, to make biofuels, and corn doesn't have as much oil present in it. Now, palm oil has a lot of oil present in it, but palm oil, in growing it, it's typically grown in fact, Brazil is a leader of palm oil production, but they're cutting down the rainforest to grow it. So with biodiesel, one of the more recent technologies is to use algae, photosynthetic algae. And the algae are taking in the carbon dioxide and they're taking in the water to produce glucose, but they're also producing oils that we can refine and we can obtain a biofuel. So what happens is we allow these algae to undergo photosynthesis. We extract the oils from the algae and we can isolate them and we can refine them and eventually make a form of fuel in the form of biodiesel. Now, do you have to understand the chemistry that is occurring here? No, you do not. There's a lot of chemistry happening. A lot of stuff goes on in the lab. A very industrial process. The key is that we are using glucose to then obtain ethanol and oils from that are used in the combustion, in an internal combustion engine. So one of the places where you're going to see this is at a gas pump. We have E85 fuels, like there is 85, an additive of ethanol to basically bulk up the gasoline. So they're basically in not just using gasoline, but they're having additives that are helping to reduce the amount of fossil fuels that we are burning. But we're also trying to prolong the length and the shelf life of our petroleum products overall. So for our FRQ practice, I want you to explain why biodiesel fuels have a different effect on atmospheric carbon dioxide levels when you compare them to fossil fuels. So I thank you very much for your attention. I hope that this was informative. I will see you soon.